Evening. It's been a few days since the last video and I have done stuff but I haven't filmed anything, and also what I have done has been delayed just because of the fucking weather. It's been pissing down, and what I have done showed me I was a bit limited to be able to do any more. So let me explain. Obviously you saw in the last video me driving this, giving it a bit of a boost and all that. Really good. So the other day I didn't film it, partly because I couldn't be bothered and partly because I left the GoPro at home. But anyway, the other day it was not dry, but I spent a good part of the day driving around doing the mapping. Obviously not mapping the whole car, I'm taking it to Badger 5 to get it all sorted, but just to get it, you know, there or thereabouts. And yeah, it was working really well. I actually got the map surprisingly bob on. Well, not bob on really, but not far off at all. Like corrections, even on boost, correction was like, wow, all of it less than 10%, which is fucking good going. Like less than 5 isn't even worth changing. But yeah, less than 10's decent. So yeah, I was very happy with that. And after I'd done some driving around mapping, which was, you know, good enough, I thought, right, I better do some underload mapping. But where the workshop is, there's not many good roads. It's not very straight roads. So I headed over to the motorway, which isn't far away. And yeah, it was going okay. The thing actually spools faster than 99% of the world would believe. I've got it on data log, so it's not even like my opinion, it is literal fucking fact. Even though it's basically running what I'm pretty sure is just actuator pressure, 1 bar. That 1 bar, so full boost, I saw it by just under 3,500 RPM. I'd have been happy if I didn't see 1 bar until 4,500, 5,000 RPM. But yeah, 3.5 in top gear. It was a few hundred RPM later in 5th. And 4th, it seemed about the same as 5th, but as soon as it came on boost, it just smoked the tyres. Wow, no smoke, it was wet, but it just spun the wheels at like 85, which is not exactly ideal for trying to map your car. So I've been waiting until it's been dry to be able to pull it under some load and really see what the boost is doing and so on. So that day is today. I've been busy all day, so it's night time now, but you know, should be quieter now at least. So while I'm probably not going to be able to film that much interesting stuff moving for this bit because it's night time, you can't see shit, I'm going to go and do a bit of driving and see what's going on, because if all is as it should be tonight, I mostly want to confirm 100% what wastegate pressure is. It should be 1 bar. I want to be sure it's at least 1 bar, because I don't want to have the issue that happened when I took this car with the old engine for mapping, where the wastegate spring, well, it was actuator at the time, but yeah, the wastegate actuator spring wasn't strong enough, so I was limited as the boost, you know, at higher RPM. I was limited to only 1 bar. As soon as I got back, I changed the actuator and I could do whatever then, but at the time, not enough. And I want it to be the same with this. I need to make sure there's enough gate spring. I would say, I reckon 15 gate only should be enough, because at full boost, yeah, this could be like 30 plus. Another little thing I've done, not, you know, a big deal, but I think for the first time since I've owned this car, it's got working number plate lights. Both the bulbs are gone, nothing fancy, but I've just never bothered doing anything about it. but I have now. Before I go out and do any driving, I'm going to explain a bit of Stav-Tech stuff for you, because while a lot of people know turbos or think they know turbos, there's a fuck load of misconceptions about turbos. So let me explain a few things purely relevant to what I've done with this so far. Basically, first up, this turbo I'm running, HX40, 16 centimeter. That's a big turbo. Garrett equivalent is, well, it's bigger than a G35, GTX 35, whatever on the turbine side. Almost 40 size, but not quite. Somewhere between 35 and 40. Yet, I saw one bar by under 3,500 RPM. Well, full boost, effectively, because that's all it was set for, by 3,500 RPM on a little 1.8. Most people would be like, oh my god, how's that even possible? And it's like, it is, and I'm not the only one to do this. It's just most people don't manage anything like that with their setups because they're fucking done wrong. This is one thing that people get wrong. People just think you slap on a fucking turbo and it all works the same. It's like, no, not in the slightest. You know, there's so many factors to getting it right, and my shit tends to spool good because I optimize it so it does work right. And this is a great example. You know, you see a lot of people with engines fucking over, you know, twice the size, and they can't get spool that good on that same turbo. Yeah, I know of somebody with an engine approximately twice the size, just under, with an absolutely fucking gigantic turbo that's easily twice the size of mine, and his spool's about the same. But people are like, oh, Holset's are big lazy truck turbos, old technology, they don't spool well. It's like, they're proven to. It's just, that's either a mix of people who's got absolutely zero fucking experience of it and are just like regurgitating fucking fifth-hand info at their fucking nan's, cat's, uncle's bloody sister told them, or their setups are shit. Because that's another thing. Like, generally, the more budget orientated you go, be it the turbo, be it the whole setup, the more likelihood the person building it has just done a shit job, because budget, unfortunately for most people, means thrown together and clueless. So no wonder the things don't perform as well. Generally, if you've got the fucking money to spunk on a bloody $2,500 turbo, you've normally got the money to spend doing the rest of it properly rather than just throwing it together, which obviously skews people's results and whatever. But the simple fact is, if you look at actual proven results from people doing it properly, they spool as fast, if not faster, than you know, nearly everything else, despite all the fucking bullshit hype and sales talk and internet bullshittery which is around. I don't do any of that. I've got proof. I wouldn't tell you this fucking shit spooled however unless I got proof. I got fucking proof. I got it on a data log. I've posted it up on my Instagram and all sorts. So yeah, and it's just how it is. Ignoring how well stuff spools or don't, and ignoring types of turbo or whatever. Another thing people always seem to not realize is turbos aren't like superchargers. They're not linear, they're not belt driven. They spool by so many different factors affects it, and one of the big ones is load. Like, I think maybe just people with either no turbo experience or only baby turbos don't seem to realize that, but anyone who's got any experience of like a relatively even medium-sized turbo will know load, which especially with how high your gearing is, what gear you're in, affects its spool. Same as on a dyno. Surely anyone who's had their turbo car on a dyno will see almost always on the dyno the turbo looks, the power band, and in effect, how the turbo looks like a spooling is always fucking slower than it is on the road. And that's because nearly always on the dyno, the load isn't as high as it is on the road. And it's the same with gears, like this, right? It's a relatively light car with relatively short gearing. So it's never going to be as loaded up as a heavier car and or a car with longer gearing. But regardless of that, on any car, you know, if all else is the same, the spool will be faster the higher gear you go. So on this, you know, I saw 1 bar by under 3,500 RPM. That was in top. The next gear down, it was another, I'd say about 400 RPM slower, I think it was. And then the next gear down, don't know. It changes. On that one, I don't know, because it fucking lit up the tyres. It didn't feel much different, but I won't know yet. But that is just how it is with cars. But here's another, and again, not related to my car or any other car, factor that fucking everybody forgets, and this is why people make a mess of sizing their turbos. It don't really matter that much when your turbo spools if it's before the engine's natural power band anyway. Yeah, it helps drivability, but does it help going fast? No, not really. Like this, right? Even with the old engine, with the stock cams, well, it was a stock engine. It had that HX27 on it. Super fast spooling thing, you know, it's full boost by about 2,500 RPM. It was making boost practically the minute you touch the throttle, even at idle. That's great, yeah. But if you wanted to actually go fast to really use its performance, even with the standard cams and all that, which are, you know, they've had enough by 6.5 or so, you know, and there's no point revving beyond 7. You're still, if you want to go fast, at least 5,000 RPM, 5 to 5.5, you'd always be, if you know how to drive and want to go at your maximum, be changing down to 5, 5.5 and going from there. Even though the turbo was at full boost fucking 3,000 RPM ago. And it's no different with this. This now, right? Yeah, 1 bar by 3.5 grand. Does that mean I'd be like racing people from 3.5 grand or whatever? Fuck no, I won't. Because the thing, no matter what the boost is lower down, what the boost pressure is, it starts flying from 5-ish. So you'd always be 5,500 RPM to go fast. So people be like, oh yeah, my car spools up, you know, full boost at fucking 1,000 RPM. It's like, unless you've got like a rally car or something where you're going to be stuck sometimes at low RPM because of the tight corners and you won't be able to change down fast enough or whatever, what fucking good's that going to do you? Your cars have got gears, that's the whole point of them. So it's like, yes, my car's, you know, got 3,500 RPM full boost. Yeah, that's like, you know, willy waving on the internet. Will that help me actually, like, performance times? Will it fuck? Because I won't be at 3,500 RPM. This shit's more compounded with Honda engines that rev like fuck, you know. People's like, oh, I'm going to run so-and-so turbo on my K20, you know, like a relatively small turbo. It's like, unless your turbo isn't at full boost before VTEC kicks in, so say 6 grand at least, is always going to be way faster than it was beforehand. And if you really care performance-wise what it's like before VTEC, you're driving the fucking car wrong anyway, because the power is like, you should never be out of that power band. It's like you should be concentrating on your own driving problems rather than your engine spec, and because you clearly don't know how to spec your engine properly either, if that's your concern. It's, you know, people really get the fucking wrong idea of these things. And it's no different with, I'm sure I've talked about it before, but things like you know, all people care about is the compressor side of a turbo. Oh, you know, my turbo can do 800 brake because that's what the compressor can do. It's like, yeah, but yeah, that might be making the power, but the turbine side's, in my opinion, as if not more important, because that dictates air coming out, and that also dictates like engine health, as in back pressure, as in how long your shit's like to live, or how much boost you can run on a normal fuel without the thing exploding, you know, without it denting. I mean, again, I've got data logs, not from my car, because I didn't even bother fitting a back pressure sensor to this, purely because I've seen the data logs of another 1.8 with pretty much the same turbo, which is Lee Connor's, my friend's Lotus. He's got data logs showing his car at like 35 psi and like 7,500 RPM, and even only at that point is back pressure the same as boost pressure. Every point below that, which is way beyond what most people would run, boost is always higher than back pressure, which basically means an incredibly happy and healthy and debt resistant engine. People always say, like, how the hell has he kept this Rover Caser, as known as one of the weakest engines on the planet? How has he kept that engine alive, running like fucking 850 horsepower? That's why. Whereas most people can't keep those fuckers alive at like 250 horsepower. And that's kind of my goal with this. You know, most people, if they would have wanted, say, I don't know, 550, 600 brake, would they have chose this turbo? No, because they would have thought it wouldn't spool, which is wrong. But also, they just pick whatever compressor with the smallest turbine wheel that they know is possible. And yeah, it will do that. But I bet if you looked at back pressure readings, I'm sure it's out there actually. I need to look some up because I know there's been some very well data logged 180s. You look at their back pressure versus boost, they will have a fuckload more back pressure than boost. And yeah, that makes cars less likely to live, less reliable, less happy, you know. And I want shit to last, and I want to do it on pump fuel if I can. And that's not magic, that's just making things more debt resistant and, you know, less shit. Oh, I'll tell you one last thing. Me, like this turbo being this big and spooling this well, would that mean I would never run anything smaller? Because, oh, one bar at 3.5 grand? It's like, no, because there's more to it than that. This thing, because there's, I'm sure I've talked about it a million times before, but lag and boost threshold is totally different. Lag is a delay in boost response, while in the boost threshold, the boost threshold is the RPM range where there is fucking boost. This thing, in the boost threshold, has got no lag. It's fucking savage, actually. It's really, really good. But no matter what, realistically, even though it is one bar with 3.5 grand loaded up in a high gear, if I was building like a rally car, even a road car I wanted super easy to drive, would I have a turbo this big? No. I would have as big as I fucking needed for the goals. Not just wildly nothing else. This is mostly a straight line, big power, destroying supercars monster. So my turbo spec, fucking perfect. But say if I was building it as like a rally car type thing, 300, 320 brake, as much torque as possible, would I run a turbo like this? No, I'd run a fucking HX27 like I did have on this, because that was my goal for that. And although the big power band, yeah, it's still 5,000 RPM plus, the extra flexibility low down, like from almost nothing or whatever, yeah, I won't be at that RPM when I'm trying to really give it fucking 4 beans. But just in general, why lose that when you don't need anything else? You know, it's a balancing act. And you can go too big, you can go too small. Most people go too small, way too fucking small. Or they think they've gone too big because their setups are shit. But yeah, I'm a no bullshit person here. I'm not gonna fucking try and tell people, yeah, my turbo's magic and it's that big and you'd never need any smaller. That's bollocks. For what I want to do, this is fucking unbelievable, and it's way better performance, spool, whatever you want to call it, than 99% of the world manage to do on a similar turbo. But does that mean that's all you'd want? No. Horses for courses, different fucking, you know, different turbo for a different job. And for this job, this is mint. But especially mint because I optimized it. If I would have done this a typical, you know, a typical way like most people do, would it spool like this? Would it? Fuck, it'd be way worse. I reckon with a normal 3-inch exhaust, a single scroll, manifold setup, and a million fucking boost leaks like most people have, I bet you that very same turbo, even in the gear where I was at 1 bar by 3.5 grand, I bet you could add 1500 to 2000 RPM of lack of spool on that. And that's what most people's typical fucking setups are, because they just throw them together and expect the turbo to work its magic. Turbos don't work like that. And on that note, I'm gonna go for a drive. Just been out for a little motorway drive to see where we're getting, and this is what we got so far. I don't know how well you can see it, but yeah, the map's actually not far off. There's only a couple of points sort of off boost at higher RPM where so far, where I've only just got to really, where it's above 10% that the ECU's taken out itself. Mostly it's nearly, you know, it's nearly all under 5%, as in spot on. Some of it is actually, it's adding quite a lot. So yeah, it's not too bad so far. It looks like the most boost it has seen is 1.2 bar. It's around about 1 bar, 1.1 bar, 1.2 bar, because the most is shown on here is 1.2. But fueling isn't bad at all. It's literally like less, well, around about 5% is correcting, so hardly anything at that level. Not bad considering, you know, it's not match yet, it's just me sort of doing best I can. But all I really want to do now, I'm going to do the VE map again to, you know, adjust it from these settings, and then I'm going to probably, I think, put the boost on the boost controller on a separate map down to literally fuck all, just to be 100% what the ECU's doing. Also, I still haven't sorted out idle very well, but I'm not too fussed about that. I'll sort that out. A little bit more driving. I'm literally going up and down the M5 to and stopping at motorway services doing this. But the last thing I did was set the boost controller to basically target nothing, so it would just be actuator pressure. And well, thanks to having a data log so I can see what I'm doing and see what's happening, the dickheads I bought the wastegate off lied to me. They said it was a 15 psi spring. No, it is a 7. It's showing about 145 kPa, which in psi boost is just under 7, so it's likely a 7 psi spring. So that's fucking annoying, because I thought it was 15, and you know, so what was happening before when it was running 15 was, that is what the boost controller was targeting, but I thought the boost controller wasn't having to do anything. But it turns out it was doing a bit, because yeah, with the boost controller off, it's only fucking 7. Still bloody fast at 7, to be honest, but realistically, considering it's like to be running 30 psi plus when fully mapped, I would say it needs a 15 psi spring in it. So time for me to go shopping, which is fucking annoying. I mean, this wastegate is a bit wank, to be honest. It's a teal one. I tested it when I first bought it, and it was leaking like fuck. It wasn't holding pressure at all with a Mitivac. So I took it apart, and the diaphragm was basically pinched in the 2 parts of the housing. Like whoever had put it together had not put it together very well and pinched it, so it was dog shit and leaking. Thankfully it wasn't damaged, but I didn't check the spring at the time. I just put it back together, just assumed that was the correct spring. No, it's not. So I know springs are only fucking, I don't know, what are they these days, 10-20 quid. It's bloody frustrating that people talk shit and lie. I mean, it's brand new, but the people, like, you know, the company was like, yeah, it's a 15 psi spring, it's what we use on our own cars, blah 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 blah. Bullshit. It's not a 15 psi spring at all. So yeah, apart from that though, nothing's very far out, you know, the map from what I've done so far. Obviously I've only gone to about 6,500 RPM and like 1 bar or so, but what I've seen so far, well, with the mapping I've done and the, you know, the learning it's done, it's not far out already. I've not touched ignition timing, I've not done any of that. I'm leaving that, I'm letting the mapper do all that. I'm just wanted to cover all the bases and make sure everything's good before I give it to them. So yeah, new wastegate spring required, but apart from that, bloody good. I'm now going to head back to the workshop and go from there, and I will probably speak to you back then. No real exciting action. I'm literally at motorway services. The car sounds fucking bananas. I'm literally, it's quieter for me to drive with the window open because the turbo shit is so loud. It's, yeah, it's better with the window open than closed. But yeah, I'm gonna go back to the workshop now, and I'll see you there. Well, I'm back, and well, all went well. Engine bay still looks normal, no leaks, no fires, no nothing. So yeah, all good. Even here, where the boost pipe is super close to the exhaust, because it's wrapped to that DEI stuff. I mean, I've even got my hand on it there, and it's not too hot to touch, so that's a good thing. Oh fuck me, that is hot though. Shows how much heat is taken away by the time it gets to the silencer, although probably the heat goes through the middle, so even, yeah, I bet you even the tailpipe is hotter than the outside of the silencer, because that is it's warm, it's hot even, but you can put your hand on it. All I want to do now is put the new wastegate spring on it, give everything a final check over, change the oil, because obviously it's still got the oil, you know, it's a brand new engine, so want to put some fresh oil in now, because obviously you always do that once you've ran a new engine for a bit. I maybe should have done it sooner, but fuck it, whatever. And yeah, ready to go on the dyno. I better check with them whether I'm better off running the drag radials or those for the dyno. I honestly think those, because those survived fine on the dyno last time, and they have got really good grip, you know, like really good grip. So I don't really think we'd need to go as far as the drag radials for the dyno, but I'll ask them. Fuck it, I can take them with me and we can put them on if we need to, but I don't think we need to. I think this will be fine. And yeah, all good. Literally on the way back there, I haven't bothered showing you, but on the way back there, looking at the login, well, the adaptions that the ECU does if it needs to, from how you've got the map. Obviously I was only running 5 psi, but it showed, you know, even off boost and light throttle and low amounts of boost and whatever, all the kinds of driving I was doing on the way back, the adaptions was like 1-2%, so as in nothing. Like I said already, you don't, if you're trying to adjust things less than 5%, you're chasing your tail, because different weather conditions and stuff will affect it as much as that. Do you know what I mean? So you're wasting your time. But yeah, so all seems okay, good enough at least that my mapping job is over. The only thing I wouldn't mind maybe playing with a bit more is idle, because basically if I have idle quite rich, not stupid rich, but not like Lambda 1. Idle's lovely, really smooth. If I have it like Lambda 1 or more, it gets lumpy, like unsteady. And the ECU struggles to control it. And I think that's probably due to the gigantic injectors, because to get to as low as that idle, the pulse width on injectors is almost nothing, and that's not when they work too well. So yeah, it doesn't mean a rich idle at all. It's like, it's just slightly richer than like Lambda 1, which is no big fucking deal. And it's only at idle. Literally beyond that, it's fine. Once you're moving, it's smooth as silk. It drives really nice. It genuinely, considering I'm no mapper, and considering I've not actually done a lot, and this is mostly the clever ECU's adaptions doing a lot of it, drives mint. Drives at least as good as it used to with the stock ECU and a MAF sensor and all that kind of shit. So yeah, fucking brilliant. Full credit to, you know, the ECU manufacturer, because it is shit hot. Because I don't want to take credit, because I don't believe it can be any of my fucking skills, because I don't think I've really got any. So yeah, I mean, I know what's good and bad, but I'm no experienced mapper, so I'm pretty sure it's the ECU just being shit hot. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. Bit of a funny one, maybe. Not that much action, but you know, it's keeping you updated, isn't it? So anyway, I hope you liked it, and you know, do the usual, like, comment, subscribe. If you want to help out in any way, I've got a Patreon. I put the link in the description. More than happy if anyone helps me out on that, because obviously any little bit helps. You know, even the smallest amount pays for fucking drinks or fuel to get here or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So there you go. Next episode, I don't know what's going to be happening. Depends. I'm going to try and keep it relatively soon. Maybe in the next episode, I might have another one of these, another silver one as well. That would tally up to 4 silver ones of these I've bought so far, because I've got this one. There's the other silver one that I bought and then gave to Thomas in exchange for help. Another silver one which I bought to 180 and sell on, but instead I sold it to my friend Andrew, who's basically fell in love with these things, same as I did from just driving one. Didn't have any interest in them until then. Driven one, holy shit, I want one, so he's got that. And now I'm buying another one.